Welcome to this gig that I was somehow tricked into doing for some reason. I kept it a little bit low touch because I really wanted to get the audience engaged. And I'd like to kick it off with, so the presentation is called The Secret Sauce of Cybersecurity Operations. So I'd like to start with what's the difference between cybersecurity. Nah, gotcha. It's not going to do that. Let's start over. A little bit of, I'm very nervous because it's the first time that I've done this in front of such a huge audience. So if you want to grab a coffee, by all means, I'll have 5 people in the room and be really happy about it. So, who am I? 18 years in activity, 14 in cybersecurity. For the past almost 8 years, I've done cybersecurity operations. So apparently people sort of think that they know what I'm talking about. We'll have to see. I'm what I call myself a cozy host for the imposter syndrome, because in this type of activity, you always think that you're the lowest person and everybody else is better than you. So if you're in the room and you feel the same, you're not alone. So this is a call out to everybody. I've actually heard people on the floor and elsewhere talking about this thing. So yeah. Being a people leader for a significant amount of time, some of the things that really resonated with me are servant leadership. So my role as a people leader is to actually enable the people that I'm responsible for to work and be productive. And I strive to do that. And one of the things that I think many organizations are lacking is the whole start with why, which is a Simon Sinek concept, and I really like. So, and the last piece of information is I'm a driver enthusiast. So this is like a mask off, mask on type of moment. So I really enjoy, this is my moment to disconnect from everything. It's I go on the track and I don't care for anything about 8 hours until my children call, but that's a different story. So, in the line of start with why the presentation? In these types of conventions, you hear a lot of discussions about the latest techniques, the latest stuff that happens, the latest exploits, the latest misconfigurations. You don't hear a lot about the people that are in the first line of defense, the people in operations, let's call them the foot soldiers, if you want. And what I try to do in this presentation, so it's just a summary of maybe some, not the most, but some of the most important lessons that I have learned in my professional life. Why? Because first of all, I hope it will help the people that the corporate world calls the individual contributors, but I also hope that this will help their managers and it will enable to maybe change a little bit their mindset, and also the stakeholders and policymakers. And while this mostly applies to service providers, which have these significant operations, hope it works, I think it also applies to people that are responsible for internal security teams of different sizes. We're going to talk about 5 cases. It's not going to be, it's going to be a mix, so it's not like one person, everything's anonymized and everything's coincidental or not. But hopefully this will be helpful for you. And we're going to start with the first case, which we're going to call the first story, the gutting case of Sybil Shepherd. I don't know if you know her. She used to be a big hit when I was really tiny. So if you don't know her, Midnight Caller and a lot. So Sybil was a fresh college graduate. Sybil had no real work experience, and at least in Romania, this is a non-starter for most TAs. So hey, I'm fresh out of college. We don't care. What's your experience? You need to have 4 SANSs and 5 other certifications to be considered for a junior position. So thank you very much. No. Actually, there was a really difficult housing situation involved as well. So Sybil came and discussed with the people in the organization that we're talking about. And Sybil was an absolutely brilliant cybersecurity professional. I mean, think Matrix, think how Neo sees in the Matrix. That's how Sybil sees in all the code in the world. So I think Red Reddington, if you watch Blacklist, when he talks about Demby, he says he's splendid. So that was Sybil Shepherd. I mean, look at her, seriously. Why is it a gutting case? Because Sybil got hired and it got a... Sybil got hired, so spent a good period of time, but unfortunately the organization where Sybil got hired was not actually prepared for the talent that she brought to the table. So Sybil had to actually leave to a place that was far more suitable for the skill set, and it is what it is. So Sybil comes with a really important lesson for you as individual contributors, you as managers, and you as stakeholders. If you love something, set it free. And there's a small here, it says, if it doesn't come back, hunt it down and kill it. But like, I'll leave it at that. As a manager myself, I strongly encourage you to be happy when somebody says, hey, I'm going to pursue another opportunity because it helps me fulfill my dream. It will make you a lot more accomplished than saying, oh, I have this challenge, I have to find a backfill for this person, and the market is not there, and TA doesn't help me, and everybody asks for a lot of money. Like, if you love something, set it free, because it'll make you grow as a person. It's not the easiest thing to do, but we don't take the easy path. The second story is, we're going to call it the metamorphic case of Paul Atreides. And because if you read Dune, I've read Dune like 1,000,000 times, before it was a thing, I think. So I'm old. So Paul Atreides had many access to many ancestries, because when he took the spice, he became prescient and so on. So this is a story of many people. You may be in this role, you may have been in this role. Paul may be a former government employee, he may be an employee at the end job, and perhaps he wants to dabble into cybersecurity for the first time. He comes into your organization, spends 1 to 3 years in the organization, and then wants to experience something else. And kudos to them. I love a person that is going to say, hey, I know it's like, for example, former government employees saying, hey, it's my first encounter with the corporate world. I want to try something else. Please don't hold it against me. Don't hold it against them. Paul, insert whatever time you want, gives you a phone call and says, hey, it's not really what was sold to me. TA, sorry. And I'd really like to come back. So I see my wife, she's like, oh my, I can't believe he's saying that. So he reaches out to you and says, hey, I want to come back. So, dear cybersecurity managers, sometimes the grass is greener on the other side because it's fed with something that I'm not allowed to say because I represent a company, but you know what I mean. For you as individual contributors, do not shy away from that. Do not shy, if you've had a good relationship with your former manager, do not shy away from picking up the phone and saying, hey, help me if you can. Because if you have a good manager, and this is where we separate the grain from the chaff, they're going to help you. For you, cybersecurity managers, manifest empathy, put yourself in their shoes, and think about what you do in their shoes. So help them. You may not have the role, you may know somebody who has the role, you may facilitate, but again, grow yourselves as managers, and it'll prove better in the long term. The third story, we're going to call it the intriguing case of Captain Thor Ironhulk. And this, I couldn't, if my life depended, I couldn't draw a circle. So this is something that I actually found online. Marvel. So Captain Thor Ironhulk had a couple of interviews with a certain organization. The interviews were like really crappy. The feedback that he got were like, he can't really decide what he is. Is he a green beast? Is he a captain of justice? Is he a Norse god? So like, such a bad candidate. He doesn't even know the name of a single vendor of a web proxy solution. Like, come on, WebSense, BlueScope, whatever, I don't care. And this is actually one of the stories that's like the nearest and dearest to my heart, because I got to actually talk to Captain Thor Ironhawk, and he's awesome. I mean, you get to a point where you start to sense that something's like beneath the surface and you try to explore it. And Captain Thor Ironhawk says, hey, I don't know the name of a web proxy solution, but I actually have my own Nginx instance that I've put in my lab at home. It's like, tell me about your lab at home. Like, it has an IDS and it has this and that. And I'm actually blocking my wife's shopping habits. Like, I'm sorry, honey, but Zara is down or whatever. It's like, This is one of the situations where if you're a good people reader, if you're a manager that understands the cybersecurity landscape, you're going to have that person hired on the spot. So Captain Thor Ironhawk, turns out that he's a really dependable, fire and forget, down-to-earth operations person. I really like to surround myself with fire and forget people. What I mean by that is, like, we have stuff to do. If I assign somebody like, hey, help me with this, I'm not the kind of person that will double check every 2 days that something has been progress. We will talk about this in 3 months or 2 weeks or next year. But I know that this type of person is a person that I can depend on, that when the time comes, they would have done their own job. Surround yourselves with these types of people and strive to be this kind of people, like managers and contributors, because it's a much leaner, a much, much, much better solution to workplace relationships, if you ask me. And Captain Thor Ironhawk, because like he has some like magical hammer, unbreakable shield, power armor, and invincibility, he's one of the people that I very much like to have around during serious incident. And this is like, you hire people, strive to find the potential in people and to tap it, and you're going to be surprised, and you're going to grow, you're going to be better. So the lesson that the Chimera brings to the story, actually there are two lessons. So first of all, hire the wise, the why nots, not the wise. Like, you have a challenge, like, hey, what do you think about this? There will be people that will say, why not? Let's try this crazy idea, see what comes out of it. There will be people who say, like, why? It's disruptive, I don't like it, I don't care about this. Hire the why nots, strive to be the why nots, because we work in cybersecurity, we're not making bread. Even there's innovation, so keto bread. The second lesson is change is inevitable. The people that are the why nots are going to be better adapted to the change. And if there's anything that people that have spent a lot of time in the industry, is change is inevitable. Except from a vending machine. That's like, use the ones with the card. The fourth story, we're going to call it the unwavering case of Geralt of Rivia. This comes with a lesson also from the Blacklist. So if you like the Blacklist, I like the Blacklist. So Geralt is, again, it's a persona. It exemplifies many people by the nature of the beast that come from really toxic environments, and you give them a chance. Some come from companies that have really bad cultures. Some come from other places that don't have such a great culture. He tried so many times. They tried so many times to join an organization, but didn't really work out for them. So, I mean, as it says here, in this respect, it's more like Captain America than Geralt. With Geralt, it was like 30% chance of making it out alive. So, anyway, maybe not a really good choice of a persona. But he was given a chance, and he became one of the most dependable, loyal, and high-performing employee of that organization. And I think that it's a really difficult conversation, one that may be subject of like coffee elsewhere, because in this day and age, we talk a lot about this is just a job, but on the other hand, I think it's really important for an employee to be loyal and to the organization, and for the organization to be loyal to an employee. Facebook, sorry. The allergies, they're crushing me. Because a person that's vested, like look at what happens in Ukraine and how a good people leader has managed to gather around and to really rally the people against an external force, and why loyalty is so important. And we need to try to make this, it's a two-way street. It's not like, oh, the employees are loyal to the company. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. It is always a two-way street. And if an employee's loyalty to a company is not so obvious, the other way around, it makes the news, and it's going to create a really bad reputation. No matter how much money you throw at people, if you have a bad reputation, people are not going to come. You need to behave in a certain way. So the fourth story, it's a really cool video, but I couldn't put it here, when Red explains about loyalty and how he worked putting carpets in a very hot summer when he was really, really young. Google it, Red Value Loyalty, you'll see it. It's a really impressive demonstration from James Spader. But yeah, value loyalty above all else. Do not deceive, do not lie to your employees. It's better to tell them I'm not at liberty to say than to lie. The fifth story, it's again a persona. We're going to call it the frustrating case of Cassandra. Cassandra, the priestess, Apollo priestess from like the ancient times. I think it was Apollo, maybe. She would predict the fall of Troy, should predict a lot of stuff, but nobody would listen to her. So there are many Cassandras in cybersecurity. That's the reality of things. And I'd like to have a show of hands. So I'm of the opinion that cybersecurity is one of the very, very few areas, short of a kinetic conflict that we have up north, where human intelligence actually is at war with human intelligence. So, like, do you agree with this statement? I do. It's like you battle adversaries, you try to evict adversaries, you try to outsmart them, you try to do stuff to them, they try to do stuff to you on a daily basis. This is unheard of. This doesn't happen in IT operations unless you are a fan of the rise of the robots or something else. So I think it's really important. I think that many organizations do not do a good job at recognizing the Cassandras in the organization, actually enabling and empowering them. They're going to say, hey, I have a strategy. You're not going to come and upend it because of your stupid ideas, like, go play in your sandbox. So Cassandra is many people that are not listened by the stakeholders. This is more lessons about stakeholders and about the people that actually do the work. There's a saying from one of the mentors that I have that says, I'm too busy shooting arrows to talk to the machine gun salesperson. So it's like, yeah, we have to fight these alerts, and they're like trillions. Like, maybe we could do this, and there are no more alerts. Like, you're talking bullshit. Sorry. So, if you're in that role, create listening posts, nurture innovation culture. I've seen, and it's not only a feature of cybersecurity, it's also in many walks of life. Many people, many organizations consider that innovation is the privilege of like their R&D department. Some of you may know the story about the rear spoiler from the Dacia 1310, which was like somebody invented a way to make it cheaper. They took their idea, and now he sued them and got millions of dollars. So innovation is not the privilege of few. Many people in your organizations can have ideas that are brilliant and awesome. So create listening posts. Give people 20% of me time. Try to enforce this. Try to encourage them to do the work that they care about. The lesson that Cassandra brings comes from Lev Tolstoy, War and Peace. The strongest of warriors are these to time and patience. It's a lesson for you that have these ideas and are not being listened to. And if your ideas are not listened to, start your own gig. But it's like written really slow because I don't know how the message sounds. So follow your dreams. follow your ideas. So that was the bulk of the presentation. I do have a couple of kudos and callouts that are going to take me like 30 seconds. So first of all, I'd like to thank the organization that made this possible. And I'd like to invite with me on the stage Andrei, please. So in our organization, we've actually created a challenge coin that we give to all the people that have been serving the cybersecurity community for a long time. They're for our champions, they're for the people that... No. So it has a lot of Easter eggs that I'm sure you're going to have fun. Okay. Thank you for all the partnership in the past, I don't know how many years. Too many. Yeah, too many. And we hope we'll see you next time.
Thank you also.
Thank you. The second call out is to the people in the trenches. I know your jobs are really difficult, so help us try to make them better, because the ideas come from actually doing the work, from making the machine guns better, for making the tanks better, for making everything better. And the third, the last but not the least important call out is to my better half. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Andrei. Are there any questions for Andrei? If not, I would have one. I read about a lot of experience you have in managing people, or searching for people, or trying to support them in their growth. And I've read that you have a large team of L3 security specialists. And the question would be, which would be the most valuable skills an L3 specialist should have?
The most what?
The most valuable skill.
The mindset. It's not a skill. It's like, have a growth mindset. There are some people that will know, like, hey, I know I'm a person, I'm a forensicator. I know how to do forensics. Like, that's great. But forensics may be gone tomorrow because somebody's going to invent an AI thing that's going to do everything and you're going to be redundant. Like, what do you put instead? Think fast, have a growth mindset. I've had people hired with almost no cybersecurity experience, and they've become extraordinary. That's the most valuable thing that you can bring to the table. It's not, hey, I know, because, and it's also a skill that does not depreciate. Don Smith, who talked last year, is like, he has this a quote. He says, like, in cybersecurity, live for a day, everything changes. Live for a year, everything's the same. So I quote him. It's not verbatim, but your mindset, the way that you approach a problem, is your most important skill set. It doesn't matter. Like, exploits will come and go, techniques will come and go, but being flexible, being the why not, is the most important thing that I personally look for in these people. Because they're the people that when the tides change, and in cybersecurity tides change, these are the people that will be the best suited to make sure that we keep defending the people that we keep defending. That's my take on things.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.